Hey, all you podcast listeners, you can find Slice of the Paranormal everywhere podcasts are found, or you can watch us on our YouTube channel.
Hello there, and welcome to... What is this?
We are Slice of the Paranormal.
Slice of the Paranormal! Yeah. So we talk about ghosts and aliens and paranormal stuff.
On the weekly.
Weird history.
Every Wednesday we drop a new episode.
Sure.
And for this one, we're going to be talking about Satan.
Ooh.
Satan.
Dropping that.
Yeah, we got to talk about Satan today.
Today's Satan.
Do you remember that
Well,
on Saturday Night Live was Dana Carvey, the church lady? He was like, is it about Satan?
Satan. Had like a reverb.
That's special.
And actually, after we talk about Satan and the panic that he causes, we will review pizza from a very local, weird for our podcast, but we're going to actually review a local Domino's tonight.
Order some Domino's here for our reviewing.
That's a first. We've been avoiding franchise pizza.
Well, for a reason.
For a while. But tonight's the night.
It seems fitting.
It is fitting.
It goes with the topic. And also, thanks to our sponsor, Cup of Code.
Yeah.
Appreciate all you do for us.
Yeah, our website looks great. Our viewers and listeners should check out our website to check out our
T-shirts.
merch and buy some Slice of the Paranormal for themselves.
Yeah. But that leads us to our topic tonight and why we have our very special guests here.
We do have a guy in the studio today.
We have a guy named Ryan Castle. He is the co-owner of Celestial Water Games in Sunbury, Pennsylvania. And they do Dungeons and Dragons, which is part of our topic today, you know?
Right. We'll put a pin in that for a little bit.
We're going to put a pin in that.
But you're more than welcome to chime in. Yeah, whatever. Sorry, Chris.
But since you are a D&D guy, I do have to ask you one question before we get started. When did you have to sign over your soul to the Dark Lord?
Funnily enough, I haven't done that yet, and I've been playing D&D for more than 2, 3, 4 years now. That's a big time frame, but we'll say 3, 4 years now.
Okay, this is
it's usually a 10-year marker. I think is when they have.
They say.
That's when the contract for the soul comes out.
Yeah, they can't admit to it.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Once they've known you've been there for 10 years, they're
plenty of time.
Get the boy.
So we're not really going to be talking about Satan.
Not Satan per se.
Not Satan per se. We're going to be talking about the 1980s and the Satanic Panic. Yes. Which,
I think that's like a disco song, right?
Satanic
I always hear
Panic at the disco.
I think that's Disco Duck.
I always hear
Disco Duck.
Disco Duck.
I love that back in the 80s.
Right.
Satanic Panic at the disco. I see where it's coming from now.
Okay, so in the 80s, when we were kids, we couldn't go trick-or-treating because everyone thought Satan was out there. There were these satanic practitioners that were like putting poison and razor blades in our apples.
Well, there was all this scare, right?
There was this huge scare.
They're out to get you.
Yeah, like
check all of your candy because there might be a razor blade in it because that makes sense, or needles in it. Somebody went through those chocolates and put needles in them is what I was told. Really?
And like the talk shows were like in the 80s were all talking about it, like Sally Jesse Raphael, what is it, like Geraldo Rivera, you know, they're all
did like a 3-part series on it, which Geraldo,
of course he did a very special special Geraldo.
Yeah, and he really I think he apologized for what he did.
I will get
in 1995.
He did have to apologize years later.
Yeah.
But this Satanic Panic actually has some almost pretty well-defined origins.
So when you talk about Satanic Panic, just it's a broad term to describe that overall fear that they were trying to put into people.
Well, there's this big broad fear of that Satan is real, and there's these cults that are doing these ritualistic. It originally starts out as child abuse.
Yeah, they're coming for the youth. Like
they were coming for the youth.
Kids.
So
they're going to get you.
It was
fear.
So like they use this fear. So in the It was fueled by unsubstantiated claims of satanic ritual abuse, particularly targeting children at child care facilities. Okay?
Okay.
So, which it leads to numerous accusations.
So
I'm saying something like 1,200 different accusations against these child care facilities.
Just from this fear.
Just from this fear, saying my child is being ritualistically sexually abused
Obviously.
at your facility.
You're talking about the McMartin preschool trials, correct?
The McMartin preschool trials.
Yes.
In California became the primary catalyst of this whole thing.
Wow. And it got like celebrities involved too. Like people were accusing celebrities. It was
Really?
like a whole big
Is
thing.
it California?
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, it's under the title Satanic Ritual Abuse, so SRA. So I want to make the clear distinction
SRA.
that we're talking about satanic ritual abuse, not just child abuse, because child abuse has always been a problem, and everyone's against that. You
Yes.
know, is there ritualistic satanic child abuse? You know,
Right.
is I think the question.
Right.
Not the wholesome kind.
Not the good
Not the
old
good-
fashioned. It does sound strange. I'm sorry. It just
You're
sounds
like,
strange.
Steve, you're like, there's a good version.
Yeah,
and a bad version.
I don't.
No, that's not what I'm saying. It's all bad.
All of it.
But
Just the distinctions between
to,
them.
yeah,
That's what they're just
classify
trying to.
it
Yeah.
as
to
one or the
classify
other.
what we're talking about, I don't want people to think that we are condoning anything negative.
Right.
Because we're not. We're all good people.
Right.
Well, you know,
No.
We
mostly.
think so. Yeah.
See about that.
So there's a book that came out called Michelle Remembers.
Got this picture.
And you got a picture of the book cover,
believe
which
so. Maybe.
was a
No.
book
I can help you.
co-written by
one.
Canadian psychiatrist
This one.
Lawrence Pazer and his patient, Michelle Smith.
This thing. No, I got no picture. I got no picture.
So the weird thing is, not only is this guy, Lawrence, the husband of Michelle Smith, the girl making the accusations, he becomes her husband. They get married. So that's a big red flag that you have a very messed up patient and client relationship, first and foremost. But he was using a discredited psychological practice of recovered memory therapy.
Right.
So he would
Ask leading questions.
ask
basically.
leading
Hypnotist type
questions.
stuff. Like hypnotist.
Oh
type
yeah,
stuff?
for sure.
Yeah, like they have them kind of like go into a trance-like sleep, and then they try to recover memories.
Yeah, I think she was in therapy like twice a week for like 6 hours a day or something. Pretty extensive in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Like so.
And
Yeah.
and it kind of spirals out of control, because depending on the questions you ask, you can lead someone into any direction of a story you want.
Absolutely.
100%.
It's like a choose your own adventure
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
of abuse.
Found it.
Look at that lead in.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, you know, and that's a little bit of D&D there.
Yeah.
This practice of recovered memory therapy has been discredited. It's BS. It's bunk. You know, you can't use this type of crap. But she made these wild accusations in the book that her mother made her do elaborate satanic rituals from the age of 5 on up, and no evidence has ever supported any of her claims.
And some of the claims are like crazy. Like I remember hearing one where they like sewed on a tail to her just to have it ripped off.
Ugh.
Like
That's what she's.
That's what she's claiming.
Sure.
See, some of these memories that they quote unquote recovered,
I mean,
you
that's
know,
very
during
weird.
therapy. Yeah. And like just
Specifically,
uh-huh.
whatever.
But she didn't remember any of it up until she starts going through this therapy.
To
with
me
him.
means that this therapist
You know?
is completely manipulating this
Yeah.
girl.
Oh, yeah.
And then he marries her.
Yep.
He manipulates
He married
her.
her.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And he writes a book about her.
And makes her, and she converts to Catholicism.
Like,
for
Yeah.
him, I'm guessing to get
this
married.
is all messed up. But ultimately, like, people look into things like her 1955 yearbook, and it shows a freaking healthy kid, not someone being abused. In the 1980s, another thing that helped fuel this whole thing going on is that there's mandatory reporting. You and I are both mandatory reporters. If we see child abuse, we legally have to notify our bosses and legal authorities, period. There's no questions about it. Well, this started in the 1980s. So you have, coinciding with this, an influx of a lot more reporting happening on child abuse.
Yeah, because they actually started taking regular, like the good child abuse, seriously in the 80s.
They started taking child abuse seriously and started, putting things in place. So there are some positives to the Satanic Panic and this happening, because now there are mandatory reporters.
There's more of a light on it. Yeah.
You put a spotlight on it and you see, what scurries.
It's just people overcorrect constantly. Don't you think?
It is a
in
little
society, we
overcorrection.
always overcorrect. And that's a lot of what we see even now.
So then, you get to 1983, charges were made against the McMartin School. All the book has come out, and other preschools start soon to follow with similar allegations. Someone named Key McFarland, a social worker from a Children's Institute International place, made a system.
Children's? Oh, go ahead.
They made a system to interrogate children to see if they're being abused. And
Interrogate's the word you want to use here?
No, I want to use interrogate.
Okay.
Because they would lead with questions, and if the child said that they were being abused, they got a reward.
Yeah.
If they did not say they were being abused, they did not get a reward. So if I kept saying, hey, are you abused? No? Well, you don't get a $20 bill. But if you're abused, here's a 20.
Yeah, tell me about the time your dad did such and such or whatever.
And, I don't know if you guys remember. Do you remember when they'd always be like, show me on the doll where you were touched?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, this is the same thing.
They might still use it. I don't know.
They did pretty recently.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Even
maybe
if the
20
kid
years
didn't
ago.
mention
It's got to be a good tool.
that they're being touched by someone. If you tell them,
show me
point
where
on the doll where you're being touched, if you think of grandma hugging you, you're like, oh, right here, but that's not a negative thing,
Right.
So it's making a false, cause and an effect.
It's very easy to manipulate almost anyone, especially children, too.
Exactly. You're manipulating.
Especially if you're in a vulnerable state,
sure.
any kind of vulnerable state.
Elementary school kids. So kind of effed up.
Yeah, they don't tell the truth. They're going to get in trouble,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kids are being rewarded, and then it kind of slows down. In 1994, an article in the New York Times stated that of the more than 12,000 documented accusations nationwide, police found no evidence to prove any allegations of any organized cult abuse.
0 for 12,000.
And Chuck Norris was even involved in this. He was accused of being involved.
Really?
Yeah, these McMartin preschool trials took 6 years, I think, to all conclude.
Yeah.
Can't take Chuck Norris down.
And most of them, all the charges were, I think, like you said, dropped.
Yeah,
around,
I think, 1987, the public perception of the Satanic Panic started to sway.
Yeah.
So, before, people are like, yeah, Satan's bad. There's these cults everywhere. But you get to 1987, and people are like, I don't know if I believe in this crap. This is BS.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're starting to see through the charade. So the Satanic Panic is supposed to have ended between 1992 and 1995, and then we get to Geraldo Rivera. In 1995, Geraldo Rivera issued an apology in his hand in producing his 1987 television special, which focused on alleged cults.
Yes.
So in 1996, Carl Sagan, my main man, I love me some Carl Sagan, actually devoted an entire chapter in the demon-haunted world, railing against claims of recovered memories. So he was one of the guys that's like, this is
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, this is totally weird. So my question is it over? I don't think it's over. I don't think it ever ended.
Okay.
Because right now, there's the conspiracy theory of QAnon actually, and this is tied into the Satanic Panic articles on Wikipedia and stuff. They are, which it organized on 4chan in 2017 has adopted the same tropes of SRA and the Satanic Panic. Instead of daycare centers, they started accusing actors, politicians, and government officials.
It's the same thing.
And then it led to things like the Pizzagate, where people thought children were being like molested in the basement of a pizza shop, and a guy went in with a gun to try to save these kids in a building that had no basement. You know, it's like looking for freaking Pee Wee Herman's bike in the basement of the Alamo. You know, you're not going to find the freaking bike.
Yeah.
The Alamo has no basement.
And same thing. It's nice that you're shining a light on trying to take care of kids. Like, that's the whole thing. Somebody's out there trying to help kids. Like, that was his goal.
That's the thing.
I hope that was his goal.
That's the thing both of these are using. They're tugging on your heartstrings because we as parents and family members, we all want to protect kids.
Right.
I mean, I don't care who you are. You have to be a pretty small margin of the public to not want kids to be safe and protected and well nurtured.
Right.
So,
I think it just comes down to mass hysteria too, in a lot
it
of
does,
ways.
but people have an ulterior motive in all these to try to push an agenda.
Well, yeah, it is. It's often like the religious figures, if you look way back through history, they're imagining the bad things. You know what I mean? They're making up the demons that they're fighting against. Pretty much.
Correct. I mean,
the witch trials.
I was just going to say,
blood
you go back
libel.
to Salem, you know, the whole thing. It's all religious based.
100%.
And this brings me to the D&D part and why we asked you to be a part of our podcast.
Thank you guys so much, honestly. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah.
Well,
we're happy to have you.
We're thrilled to have you. I'm sorry I had to get through
you're good.
the beginning part of this.
Sure.
I just wanted to kind of give us a ground floor on what starts this crap.
Yes.
But you're involved in like D&D, so
Correct.
like this.
So Ryan runs a local gaming store.
Correct.
Yes.
Where the groups come from all over and gather and play Pokemon.
We do events for various different tabletop role-playing games or TTRPGs, as well as then trading card games or TCGs.
Okay.
The most popular ones that we offer stuff for is Magic the Gathering, HeroClix, Pokemon, and the big one, Dungeons & Dragons, which for Dungeons & Dragons stuff, we have 5 different Dungeons & Dragons games that are all run weekly by people within the community themselves, which is absolutely amazing.
These are ongoing
Correct.
games.
So is Satan involved in all those things like Pokemon and D&D?
So when do you move the children in the back room?
So there might be some elements within these Dungeons & Dragons game, or maybe some Magic the Gathering cards that have to do with certain elements because it's pop culture. So there's definitely going to be some moments
It's
of
dealing
that.
with the supernatural.
Yes.
Like
Magic.
ghosts, wraiths.
Yes, 100%. But not all of the Dungeons & Dragons games that we run or other game stores run are about Satan or various acts of that nature.
Yeah.
So it's just fun games.
Yeah, but I'm talking kind of like Pikachu. I mean, there's the ghastly. There's like the ghastly.
There are ghost type Pokemon.
There's
Yes.
ghost.
Does he play with Sharkzard?
He might. We'd have to pull in my friend Jake. He's all about Pokemon.
Sure.
There are some dark things
Yes.
in Pokemon. There's dark characters.
Yes, there's an entire, for instance, I don't know, they're not a ghost type Pokemon, but Cubone, for instance, is carrying around the skull of its dead mother, which is insane.
Where is it?
Wow.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's
As a
a little
helmet.
dark.
Insane that like some Pokemon in their Pokedex entries gives you these very dark undertones of these various mysterious creatures.
Cup of Code.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cup O Code. Need a website or marketing solution that works as hard as you do? At Cup of Code, they don't just build websites. They create digital solutions that grow your business. From expert web design to targeted marketing, including Facebook, Instagram, Google Ads, and billboards, they've got you covered. Dream, design, develop. Visit cupofcode.com and take your business to the next level.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird darkness in video games and cartoons. Like, I just heard today that like Super Mario's are regenerated, or the mushrooms are generated from dead Marios.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
then I've also heard that like Smurfs are generated from dead children or something like that. I think I heard.
Oh, I did hear something.
I didn't hear that.
The actual lore of Smurfs is something like that.
It's something weird, like
I think it's like
child.
communism, isn't it? Like a euphemism for communism.
Yes.
Smurfs.
Pop culture is just fascinating as a whole, and it adapts various different tones and such.
So we're bringing you in because you deal with this stuff all the time. Have you ever had anyone like come to your shop and blame you guys for doing anything negative because you're having kids there?
Sure. So we do have people of multiple different ages coming down to sit at the table. I think the youngest we have is, I believe, 15, and then the oldest I believe we have is like 48. So it's ranging from all different ages and such. So that's awesome. But I can't say that I've had somebody come in and specifically like mention the Satanic Panic and see about that.
Well, I'm thinking like more like, is there anyone that's like super religious that their kid's getting into Magic the Gathering?
Worried about
I've had a few of those situations, but that it happens. Fear of the unknown does a lot to everyone, so it's crazy. But yeah.
Yeah, I used to work at Hot Topic. They thought we did horrible things in the back room. They would literally come in the store.
They did.
I'm not going in there.
I'm not going in there.
You know, I'm like, seriously, it's a retail store.
In the mall.
In the mall.
Yeah.
I've
known them for a long time. They played My Chemical Romance in the back room.
I'm forever going to say
they chanted around candles.
Anyway, sorry. You're good.
Starting rumors. So like the Satanic Panic then kind of crosses over into many fields. Mm-hmm. So like not just like Dungeons and Dragons, but like there's all sorts of things that it starts hitting
movies.
On.
There's lots of movies and
music,
books. Yes.
Comic books are demonized.
Yeah.
So like we get to the part where there's a very famous suicide. A guy named James Dallas Egbert II, who had entered Michigan State University at the age of 16, which is really young to enter college.
I did send a picture of him.
And he was for computer science.
Which one?
James Dallas Egbert.
Yeah, you have a picture of him.
I got two of them.
Yeah, I think you have a news clipping I sent you. But this kid he's obviously very smart. He's getting into college at the age of 16. So
which is amazing.
I'm not attacking his intelligence at all. But he had depression. He was addicted to drugs. And he had pressure from his parents probably to do well, in college and school. I mean,
once you're smart, there's expectations put on you.
The expectations are really strict. And it's 1979, and he tries to OD on Quaaludes.
So he's on real drugs.
Well, no, he's taking Quaaludes.
He's taking pills. You're saying?
Yeah.
You said it was on addicted to drugs. That's a wide variety of.
He's on a lot of different drugs. He's like party drugs.
Fair enough.
I think they used to call them lewds back then.
Well, yeah.
I
don't know. I never had none of them.
I never had any of those.
No, but I've watched a Cheech and Chong movie or two, so I've seen.
By the time I made it to college, lewds were already hidden and stockpiled.
Oh yeah, no, I don't have any experience.
I think I read that Ozzy Osbourne, when they were getting rid of lewds, he bought a crap ton of them so they could have them for a while.
Oh, that sounds.
That's like a bringer downer, isn't it?
On brand. I don't know.
I think it's like a calming drug.
Here, viewers, if you know, write in. Let us know.
We don't know.
Hit up Christy in her private messages and let her know.
Now he was seen at a Gen Con 12, which is a role-playing seminar. Similar?
Actually, funnily enough, with Gen Con specifically, I believe, I don't know if it was happening in Indianapolis, Indiana at the time, but
Gen Con? I'm sorry, you got
Gen Con is a gaming convention specifically focused on the TTRPG space, which is games similar to Dungeons & Dragons. That actually, last year, we got a group of people from the store to go to Gen Con, and we're doing that again this year, so that's fun. There's tie-ins
that's cool. You took a whole group with you.
Yeah, he supposedly attended this role-playing seminar. Yeah. And he loved D&D. So on August 22nd...
I think all kids fell in love with it, man. It was... Yeah. At that time...
It was an escape.
Yeah, what do we have? Atari? And basically...
Oh, and the graphics on Atari suck. So,
you could do whatever you want.
The adventure games where your mind was taking over...
Oh, yeah.
Could be as vivid as your creativity.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. You were not limited by 8 pixels or 16 pixels.
Yep.
Right.
Only by your dungeon master.
Exactly. If you had a good dungeon master, someone that could craft a good story, you'd have an amazing night.
Oh yeah.
And you're sitting with your friends, you're drinking Mountain Dew, you're eating
Doritos. Cool Ranch ones, probably.
Not me. I hate the
Ecto
Cool
Cooler,
Ranch.
man.
Ecto Cooler. Now there we go.
Ecto Cooler.
So this guy goes missing, and he actually went to New Orleans. I totally identify with this. If I go missing, I'm going to New Orleans.
That's where we'll find you.
You'll find me there. But he tried again to commit suicide and failed, I guess, in New Orleans. A private investigator finds him, takes him home. He ultimately drops out of school that April, and then on August, I think, 11th, 1980, he shoots himself, which did not kill him, once again, but it left him brain dead, and he officially dies on August 16th. Now, the where this ties in is, okay, this guy has sexual identity issues. He's got depression. He's struggling at school because he's got all this pressure from his parents. So when they try to figure out what went wrong, they go back to this Gen Con 12
Must be
seminar, and that's it. Yeah, that's what
obviously the common denominator is.
The common denominator is
he met bad kids there.
Yep.
And they did this to him because it wasn't our fault.
No, definitely
Well, like
not.
what you were saying, Ryan, it was a fear of what they didn't understand, what they didn't know.
They had to find something to blame in an unfortunately horrible series of events. So they found Dungeons & Dragons, which was something that they didn't understand, and they were like, sure, it's that one.
Yeah, and it's much easier as people to blame something else or somebody else for your own, problems than look inward.
Right. Parents, we love our kids, and you want them to do well, but I think some parents are very overbearing.
Of course.
And I think the pressure that they put on these kids are sometimes unrealistic and unfair. Because at 16 going to college, I knew a kid that went to college at that age.
Yeah.
And he was extremely intelligent. But the problem was he skipped all those developmental things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't
Social
go to prom.
Nope.
You didn't do this. You didn't do that.
Yeah.
And then he wanted to relive the youth that he missed.
Yep.
After college.
Yeah. I don't think it's easy. It'd be very easy to be super smart. You know what I mean? I think it's a very fine line between genius and, I don't know if this PC, but insanity. You know what I mean? It's a very fine line, I believe.
Oh, I'm sure.
And then
Kanye.
In 1982.
But you're not wrong, actually.
That's what I'm saying.
You're not wrong.
I really want... I'm sorry. We'll move on.
Now I'm going to put out a disclaimer here. I like Tom Hanks. I could stand to watch The Burbs all the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
But do you know that he played a part in the demonizing of D&D?
No, because he was in some movies about.
He was in a movie in
Satanic
1982, Mazes and Monsters, a made-for-TV movie. I remember my parents had me watch this because they were so worried about me falling into the clutches of you evil D&D people.
Yes, very evil.
But Tom Hanks starts playing a game called Dungeons and Dragons, but I think they call it Mazes and Demons.
Yes, Mazes and Monsters.
Mazes and Monsters because they don't want to,
You're right.
copyright laws.
Yeah.
And reality gets completely blurred for him.
Yes.
And in this movie, he's at one point going to jump off a bridge because he has a spell to fly.
Yeah.
You've seen this too, Ryan?
Seriously?
Yeah.
I have.
Have you seen this?
No.
I haven't either.
His friends have to call him back, and they do
Is he
it.
on PCP?
No, he's just
on
the
Mazes and Monsters.
He's on Mazes and Monsters, and he's been playing this so much that he doesn't know what reality is.
Yep.
So
again, that's a mental health issue,
Yes.
not a
It
gaming
is.
issue.
This is obviously just
the movie's literally made to demonize
Propaganda.
D&D.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
And at this time, Tom Hanks is not a big actor.
No, he's just
wielding power.
does he
Nobody in
pay?
this movie is.
Yeah. Am I going to get
Chris
paid?
Makepeace is the next person on the list. Tom Hanks is number 1 on this list, by the way. Wendy Crewson. Remember her? Nope.
No.
Lloyd Bachner. Last one. Peter Donat.
Peter Donut?
And
I'm not
Sounds
those
like a
people.
mob name.
Well, in the movie, Tom Hanks' character
Peter
kills
Donut.
a mugger who he visually sees as a monster. His friends get talk him back to reality by claiming like they get him off this bridge and stop him from jumping by saying that you can't do that. It's not. It's against the rules of the game.
Oh, damn,
You
it's
have
the
to-
Matrix.
Yes.
So they
You're
mind
only
trick
a
him.
level 7. You need to be a level 11 to do that.
Yeah, so they get him back, but like the end of the movie is Tom Hanks' character is stuck in lifelong counseling in a permanent state of
Oh my
delusion.
gosh.
Yep.
What?
That extreme.
So
yeah.
you got to watch this movie if you want to
It's a great movie.
And Steve, you actually watched this movie?
I watched it when it came out in 1982.
There are some that
A
he's
few
watched.
movies. Steve doesn't watch anything that's not real or read anything that's not real.
Well, I
Yeah.
wonder. There's probably a year that started, right, or a time period.
It started maybe 10 years ago. I just got to the point where I was like, I like facts, and I'm all about facts. So for me, anything that's fiction is just not worth my time. But I did watch the Harry Potter series. I
nice.
like magic and all that. And that's
Yeah.
Oh,
kinda
so you
D&D.
also worship Satan?
And
yeah. Well, yeah.
Because
of
they're
course,
definitely satanic.
you know.
To a lot of parents.
It's hard
Oh,
to
I
believe.
know.
To this day, I have a friend who's went through that growing up. You're not allowed to listen to that. You're not allowed to read those.
Yeah.
I actually go to church every Sunday, except for this past Sunday because I was at a, mental asylum. But that's,
I was with you.
There's
I was
our
right
clip
there with you.
There's our clip.
yeah, right.
Usually I'm at church, but she's at a mental asylum.
We were at a mental asylum.
I had
this
to
weekend.
skip this Sunday. I'm sorry, Pastor Ron. But I do want to say that there are some negative things that have happened for real, but it's more of like I think people manipulating others.
Yes.
So there was a D&D murder on July 25th, 1988.
What does that mean, D&D murder?
Oh, you'll find out.
All right.
Von Steen and his wife Bonnie Von Steen were attacked. Von Steen died, but Bonnie lived.
Yes.
He got no first name? I
Vaughn.
thought Vaughn was his first name the first time.
I guess.
Yeah.
Just Vaughn and the wife Bonnie.
Bonnie
So,
Vaughn as well.
Bonnie Vaughn.
She also has that.
Now, Christopher Pritchard and Angel Pritchard were Bonnie's kids and the main suspects.
Yep.
So Angel said she slept through the whole murder. She was supposedly, I guess, in the house. Chris was at school at the time.
This was in the 80s?
Yes, this was 1988.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, this guy, Neil Henderson, turns himself in and he says,
Uncle
he
Neil.
and James, what is it, Moog? Upchurch? I think Moog's a nickname. That
like
doesn't
it.
sound like God-given.
Maybe.
Like,
Upchurch.
what do we want to name this kid? He looks like a Moog. Let's call him Moog.
Doesn't even sound right.
I don't know
Yeah.
if it's much better if it's a nickname.
Well, his last name's Upchurch. It sounds like you're vomiting religion. I don't know.
It's true.
But he turns himself in and he says he was to be rewarded when the kids got the inheritance money. And Christopher Pritchard was a dungeon master and
Yes.
planned the entire murder
What?
as a dungeon master.
Yep.
So
Part of the evidence, I believe, was
Come
a
on.
map of a dungeon that he might have sent his party through that was almost exactly identical to the layout of his house.
correct. So like
Wow.
so it's the dungeon master who's acting as the manipulator.
So this is real.
This is real.
Okay.
You know, this guy did die, and the mom did not. She lived.
Yep.
But
was
Chris,
she attacked?
Yeah, they both
yeah.
were attacked.
Yep.
Oh, man.
And the husband, Von Stein, dies. Chris and Henderson were convicted of aiding and abetting murder. Chris was sentenced to life for second-degree murder, and he was paroled in 2000. George Neil Henderson got first-degree murder and was sentenced to death. And it was commuted to life in 1992. So now he can never leave jail. He's stuck in jail for life.
So they say. I heard the Menendez brothers are getting out.
Well,
Yeah.
it depends. Like, if you were sentenced to die and they commuted to life, usually you can't get
You
parole.
ain't out of that one.
Yeah.
The Menendez brothers were not
Life.
available for parole before. Now they'll be available, able to get parole in maybe, I don't know, 15 so many years.
Oh, okay.
They still would. They're not getting out next
It's not
year.
right now. Gotcha.
They're even if everything goes their way, they still got years to go. And they're going to be old, crusty people by the time they get out.
True that.
So, but that's what I have on the Satanic Panic issue. But like going to that murder, what's your take on that? Like, do you think that like the dungeon masters have an unfair control or grip on the participants?
So, while the players do most of the time rely on the dungeon master or game master to run the game, 9 times out of 10, the dungeon master will ask for like characters' backstories and certain elements that the players want to be a part of the campaign or not a part of the campaign to kind of like create the story together. At the end of the day, Dungeons & Dragons is a form of storytelling. That's what it is. It's a form of storytelling and a fun game to play on the weekends.
Interactive storytelling.
Correct.
Yeah, maybe you could actually just explain for our listeners or viewers, like very rudimentary, who have never played it, what it actually entails. Just kind of
so Dungeons & Dragons is a TTRPG game, which stands for Tabletop Role-Playing Game, where you typically have a dungeon master or game master who writes a story that they will then take the player through. Now, these players will make characters who could be rogues, could be spellcasters, could be barbarians. It doesn't matter. There's a bunch of different kinds of races and classes and other features that go into making your character. But then you take those characters and you run them through the story that the dungeon master or game master will then say.
Did they come up with this ahead of time?
Most of the time, but there are some improv elements to make sure that there's room to allow players to also then take creative inspiration on their character's backstory. But then at the end of the day, the game is controlled by dice rolls. So there's typically...
That's right, the dice. We should have had some dice.
I forgot to bring some dice with me.
How do you not have dice on you?
Typically... your normal set is of 7 dice from D4 all the way to D20, and D20 is the one that you will most of the time
20-sided die.
20-sided die, yes. But yeah, it's just a game that takes you through a story, and at the end of the day, while the DM or GM might try their best to control the story, at the end of the day, it's up to the dice.
And the players, like, if I... understand this correctly, they kind of like choose your own adventure along the way. So 100%. Yeah, like the D&D master, and unlike this murder that happened, you can't set it up start to finish.
No, not at all.
You pretty much lay out what the board game looks like, but they have to decide where they're moving.
Correct. It's up to the players onto which story features they decide to go after.
Almost like a choose your own adventure.
Correct.
Have you ever played, Stephen?
Oh, I have. I'm 100% geek.
Okay. Ryan, have you ever played?
Yeah, man. We played more than just Dungeons and Dragons. I went my early age. I played a lot of different ones. There was one that was based around all the Marvel characters, which I thought was so cool when I was growing up. And through that, I mean, there was books. So you'd go to the bookstore and you'd buy like the to teach you how to play and all the characters and all that stuff. So it was so cool because I'd be like, I never knew this Marvel character existed. So now I had a new comic book to read. Like, it was so cool for me. And we also played one called Mech Warriors, and Elf Quest was a big one for me. I really liked Elf Quest. That was a cool graphic novel they turned into a role-playing game.
Nice.
So we used dice for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Face Monster!
This episode of Slice of the Paranormal is sponsored in part by Face Monster, creating apparel, accessories, and artwork influenced by 80s horror, 90s pop culture, punk music, and skateboarding since 2012.
Whether you have a craving for pizza or a disgust for politicians, Face Monster has unapologetic apparel that appeals to almost everyone. Physically located on the second floor of the Sunbury station in Sunbury, Pennsylvania.
Or you can find Face Monster on Instagram at Face Monster. That's Face Monster with a 0 instead of an O. But Face Monster wants you to know that even though there's a 0 in their name, you're still number 1 for following them.
So now, see, I have to make I have to admit something here.
Sure.
I was what I would have considered a high-level geek back then, because I thought the D&D crowd was the lower-level geek.
You thought they were the worst geeks.
They were the worst geeks because I was into Vampire the Masquerade.
That's a good one.
And it's very much the same realm. It's just vampire.
It's very similar. Yep.
So it's a role-playing game just on vampires.
Yeah, but a lot of we
never heard of that.
Play that in Philadelphia. We played live action we would go to clubs
cool.
That's very
and
fun.
act like our characters.
That you are the
LARPing.
true nerd.
Yep.
So you are the definitely head nerd.
I was delusional
You
like
just
Tom
outed
Hanks
yourself.
and believed I was in my own reality and
So cool.
club hopping as a Malkavian character speaking in rhyme and poetry.
I do think it's cool. I mean, maybe not as
You know.
Yeah. I never got introduced to D&D until I became friends with Jill, as we know, friend of our show, Jill.
Yeah.
And her husband was into it, and we got to playing it, and I fell in love with it the first time I played it.
And that's more recent.
Like when I was in my 20s.
Okay.
But what was funny, it took us like an entire night just to make a character.
Yep. Typically,
Sometimes.
when it comes to starting a campaign, what we do as a shop is we'll have what is known as a session zero, where the people who are intending on playing the game will sit down with the DM. The DM or GM will then give the members of the party an insight as to the world that they're building, maybe a little bit of story hints, and then the DM or some other people will help them then make their character. I've been making characters for a while, and I think I have it down to where it takes me only maybe a half hour. But at the start of it,
nice.
it took me 2 hours to make my first character.
I remember
'Cause
taking,
there's
like,
so
a
much
long
that
time.
goes
Well,
into
you're
it.
rolling dice
Correct.
with that,
I would
too.
spend forever.
100%.
Yeah, it was like all night we
I'd
were
spend
making
forever
characters.
just on the costume. Yeah. Or the
Or
outfit.
just on my name,
Sure.
too. Like
Yeah,
coming
your
up with like
name
the
or what you
perfect
are.
name
Oh,
or
yeah.
what race you want to
No,
be.
the other-
Half elf.
the
you
other
know?
question I
Then
have
you
for you.
roll for your stats, though,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
So
Yeah,
you
you
actually
do.
roll
Your
different
power.
dice for
Correct.
for your stats.
Now, in the 80s and stuff, when D&D was coming out, and the reason you probably didn't get to play it earlier was it was very much a male game. Like, it was geared towards
Sure.
men.
Well, and growing up, my mom and dad were very religious.
Oh,
we
okay,
went
so
to
there was a-
church.
there would've been a
so
block.
she probably was, they didn't really want
If
us
a Ryan
to be.
came up to you and
playing
invited
with
you
that.
to a D&D game, you would have not been allowed, maybe?
She probably would have. They probably would have wanted to check it out
Sure.
first.
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
No, that's
but it
completely
wouldn't.
Is the
Really?
Is the types of people that play these games, is it more wide than it was back then, or
Oh
is
yeah,
it still male?
Like what I mentioned earlier about the age range from, I think I said, what was it, 15 to 48.
Yeah.
There are people of various different gender identities and sexual identities that come
Sure.
join us at Celestial Water Games to play some
That's
Dungeons
cool.
and Dragons, which is amazing.
Because I don't view D&D as a male thing or a
Correct.
female thing.
No.
It's like anyone that's into like fantasy. It's,
No, I
Yeah.
don't think it. Maybe initially, I think more guys played it, but I don't think it was ever like just a guy thing
Sure.
in my memory, at least.
I mean, look at Stranger Things, though. If we're going to think about it, those are groups of guys
Correct.
sitting around together playing it most of the time. I do think it probably was more male dominated, but I don't think there was no females into it.
Yeah.
And I think, that might have been a thing that kept some girls to get into it. Like, just thinking it was a boy thing, because when I became older and got it, I was like, this is so much fun.
Yeah.
Just the imaginary world that you can come up with, and all the fun stuff with it.
I really liked. I mean, so this guy right here, I like the toys. I'm old, so I like toys.
Yeah.
But this was one of the coolest ones. He would ride a dragon, which is super sick.
I actually
Right?
had that toy as a
This
kid.
guy, right? I think his name is War Duke. He's awesome.
Yeah,
I don't know. My brother still had one. I was like, you got to let me borrow that for the show.
that's an original Dungeons and Dragon character type from the cartoon.
80s. No, so he wasn't in the cartoon. The cartoon was sweet too.
The cartoon was amazing. They actually, with that Honor
Really
Among
got
Thieves
me into
movie that came out recently, there was a cameo
Oh, yeah.
of the original party from the movie.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
I haven't seen that
Five-headed dragon in
figurine
the cartoon,
forever.
Yeah.
It's your brother's.
Yep.
Tell him if he ever wants to sell it, I will buy it.
I just saw it somewhere. I saw another one at like a whatever, like a thrift store. Not a thrift store.
Well,
but
my brother would
what do you
play
call
with
them?
G.I. Joes.
Oh, okay.
And
Silver
when
Moon
we
or
were
whatever it's
playing
called.
G.I. Joes,
Antiques.
I would use that character for
Nice.
everything.
That's awesome.
You'd use this guy for G.I. Joe?
Fuck yeah.
That's awesome. So he'd be like
awesome.
hanging with Snake Eyes?
He'd be in and out with Snake Eye. I like Snake Eyes too,
amazing.
but he was in my G.I. Joe shoebox.
G.I. Joe, totally
That could be
different
quite
toy.
different.
G.I. Joe.
Oh my goodness.
Quite a different toy.
That's pretty sweet, dude.
Yeah,
I guess they're close to the same size,
Sure.
similar. No,
Yeah.
no kung fu grip.
He just looked badass.
Yeah.
Karate chop
You're
action.
not wrong. And it's impressive that he looks badass because half of him is naked.
Exactly.
He literally has no shirt on, one sleeve, no shirt though, and one pant leg.
That
I
one
wouldn't
arm
even know
gets
what
cold.
his name is, what to call him. I don't even remember.
I think it's War Duke, but I could be.
War Duke? All right. I'll look him up. Maybe I'll find him on eBay.
Maybe.
Is that all we have for today?
That's what we have for today.
Satanic Panic episode?
That is it, man.
We didn't stop at any pizza places because we didn't go anywhere. But
So,
I was going to order some if that's all right.
Can you call in a pizza order for us?
Yeah, I'll do it real quick. Hold on one second.
Okay, cool.
Should we get Domino's?
Yeah,
probably.
It's close.
Here. Hello, Domino's. 2 pizzas, please.
The huge.
Okay. Thank you. Dang, that was
Oh,
quick.
geez. Wow.
Holy cow, come on in.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's Jill with
we
some
go.
Domino's. What's
That's
up,
awesome.
Jill?
Hi, Jill.
Thanks for coming. Here, come over here. Oh, so let's eat some pizza.
Yeah.
We should have. I probably got some plates.
All right. What do we got here? We got our pepperoni.
Who's the pepperoni?
I'm the pepperoni bitch.
All right.
Oh, I don't need my computer. I can put that down.
Anyone that wants pepperoni can have
And
pepperoni.
then we got just cheese.
Yeah.
Cheese. I got one was a
Perfect.
pan and one was a hand
tossed.
tossed. I think
You're
this is
gonna
a
want
pan.
this, and I'm gonna want that.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
What kind do you want?
Here, flip the box
I
sideways
think
so you
I
can
got
use
him
the.
too, and I think you're right about
I was
this.
going to say, do you want me to
Warduke?
tear the...
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sounds
I think it's Ward Duke. Jill agrees. It's probably Ward Duke. That does look good. I think I'm gonna try one of each today.
Sure.
All right.
But I gotta wait.
Do you want pepperoni?
Sure. Why not? Thank
And
you so
by
much.
the way, just for everybody listening, there's a ton more on Satanic Panic we didn't
Oh,
even
yes.
get into.
We
Yeah,
did
so-
not.
Oh,
Like
there is.
Yeah, more
there's
information.
so
There's a lot
much
more
more.
stories.
There's stuff
Please do.
about
Try not
Patricia
to-
Pulling and her son and
microphone?
the
Yeah,
conflict
pepperoni?
besides or surrounding that. So
Yes.
There's a lot more to it than what we got to talk about. But
Yeah, this is just kind of like a brief history
Listen,
of the
it's called
Satanic
Slice
Panic.
of the Paranormal for a reason. We're only allowed to give a slice,
just
Right.
just a little bit.
just a little bit, and then we have some pizza.
Yes.
Ryan,
Everybody
what
get a
kind? Oh,
piece?
you have a
Just
piece?
just a pepperoni is fine. Thank you guys. So
All
much.
right.
Chair, plates, or what?
All right. Give it a go.
All right. Very much like I remember it tasting like.
Yeah, like what it tasted like last week when you had it last, right?
I don't eat Domino's too often.
Oh,
Now and then, the kids get it.
I feel very weird eating on camera though.
I know. I don't like to make the noise. Oh, thanks, Joe.
Thank
Did
you
get
so
a
much.
piece?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
They're gonna be like, "Oh, it was a great episode," until I heard them swallowing.
Yeah, until I heard noises.
I feel Domino's is a staple as well as Mountain Dew, and you're
Oh, yeah.
playing D&D.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly.
There's been plenty of times where players have ordered Domino's to the shop during D&D games.
Right.
which is-
Absolutely.
And you're cool with that?
Oh, absolutely.
You don't care.
100%.
So I'm going to go ahead and start a review because I don't want our listeners to be waiting around. So we rate out of 5
Okay.
in quarters in like 0.25s. So, Domino's, I would eat that. So you're in my 3s. I'm going to go 3. I'm going to go 3. 3.0 for me. It's good pizza. I'd eat it. I'm not going to seek that out though. I did not eat the pan one. It does look. I am kind of wanting to.
It is
I just
very
had a
good.
cheese. It's
Sure.
good. So 3.0 out of 5. Ryan's review.
I'll go 2.75 because it's Domino's and it's pizza and it's edible.
You tried pepperoni? How was the pepperoni?
I did. Yeah, actually, I do like the pepperoni. It's nice and crispy, so that's good. It's not too greasy, so maybe I'm being a little unfair to Domino's, and I'll bump mine up to a 3, considering it's got the crispy pepperoni.
It does look crispy.
All right.
Steven?
Well, screw you all. I'm going 4.0.
This is Steven's.
This is my go-to pizza. I know it's a franchise, but I do like Domino's. I like the flavor of it. I think it's a great standard pizza. So if I go anywhere, I know I can get a Domino's, and it's the same thing. And Domino's, if you're out there listening, I can be bought.
He's not wrong.
You can send me coupons, a lifetime membership. I will gladly, say great things about Domino's anywhere.
True that.
I'm a Domino's whore, really.
So overall, yeah, he's just putting it out there.
I'm just putting it out
Subtly.
Subtly.
there. Very subtle.
Ryan, what do you think? What would you give it?
Well, so it's Domino's. At the end of the day, it's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, pizza place around. So We'll say 4.5.
4.5.
Wow.
Yes, 4.5. The pepperoni. I've actually, funnily enough, never had this pepperoni pizza before, and it was pretty good. Like you said, the crispy
Really?
pepperoni.
So the pan.
was
This was
awesome.
a pan.
Do you get hand tossed or?
I normally do the hand toss, yes, but this was very good. It was
Two extra dollars for the pan.
crust.
I'm gonna need that $2, Steve.
I'm fine. That's fine. Put it on my tab.
But yeah, it's
So
Domino's
great
pizza.
scores and
Yeah.
all around a little bit different, all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing with pizza. Not everyone wants the same thing out
Yes.
of the pizza as everyone else.
Which is why it's very universal. There's so many different kinds of it. Like there's 2 different here.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
awesome.
And before we let everybody go, Ryan as well, I wanted to ask you, when we have guests, we like to ask them, what is your go-to pizza or pizza toppings?
Ooh, maybe a bit controversial, but recently I tried pineapple on pizza for the first time, and it actually was not that bad.
Yeah.
Oh, you just tried
I loved it. It was awesome.
Yeah, pineapple and ham, or
Yep.
just yep.
It was awesome.
I agree.
From
So
where?
that's okay.
I think the first one I tried was from K&D's.
So what? Now
yeah.
you're ordering that all the time.
I have ordered it multiple different times now.
That's sweet
Nice.
on there.
Oh, yeah.
I can feel
It's
it.
awesome. It's very good. If you haven't tried it yet, I definitely would recommend it because it's slept on, I feel.
The
I like
first time
that.
I had the pineapple and ham
Yeah.
was actually Little Caesars.
Okay.
And Little Caesars did it pretty good.
Yeah. That kind of brings us back to Stranger Things, because remember that character? He would
yeah.
always answer the phone saying about, don't knock the pineapple
Oh, yeah.
on the pizza. And Eddie Munson and the whole Satanic Panic
so
that,
much more on
in
the
the
Satanic
episode.
Oh,
I
yeah,
know.
the Satanic Panic. We could have a 3-hour
Oh, yeah.
episode and still not tackle it all. But one of the things I hope people take away from this is to, not just go with any narrative that follows out.
yeah.
Like, look it up.
Do your research.
Do some
Oh, yeah.
research and look up, is there any validity to what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
And that's no matter what it is.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay to think about things and be thoughtful.
Oh,
but
yeah.
you don't have to
Exactly.
be fearful.
Correct.
Maybe necessarily.
Exactly. You don't have to be fearful of anything. Just look up the facts on anything. And, I tell my daughter all the time, I don't know everything, but if I don't know something, I look it up.
Yeah, that's actually one of the lyrics in Beauty and the Beast is we don't like what we don't understand. In fact, it scares us.
Yeah.
Yep. So
It's crazy how much most of this kind of stuff, like the Satanic Panic, is just a fear of the unknown and or people not willing to do research to
Yeah.
actually figure out what is
Point blank.
actually happening.
Yeah.
It's just a
Just-
knee-jerk
Yep.
reaction.
Oh, yeah.
finger pointing.
Because people fear what they don't understand,
Exactly.
which is normal.
It is.
It is.
Very human.
Oh, yeah.
While we have pizza sitting here, thanks again, Cup of Code.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
Thank you.
if you're liking what you're seeing, if you don't like what you're seeing, please comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. We have Instagram, whatever. We have all the stuff.
YouTube,
All the
Facebook.
stuff.
But the comments are fun, or the messages are fun.
And
some
Ryan, what
people-
can people? I'm sorry, I didn't
good.
mean to interrupt you, but what can people do if they want to come play a game at your store?
Right. So we post most of our stuff on Facebook, but we do also have a link tree. We are Celestial Water Games on Facebook. On there, every single day that we're open, either myself or my co-owner will post on there the events that we have going on each day. Later today, we'll be having some Magic the Gathering going, and normally we have D&D on Mondays, but unfortunately the DM had to cancel, which is fine. It happens. But yeah,
Flexible.
very flexible. But yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, yeah, pay Ryan a visit or go play some D&D or check
Oh,
it
yeah.
out.
Love to have you.
Until next time.
Join us next time you crave a slice of the
She's like,
paranormal.
That's not right.
That's
Let's
not
try that again.
Yeah. Peace. We're out.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again, Ryan.
Thank you.
This podcast was produced by Stone State Entertainment.